Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I've been married for 6 months after dating for 2 years. We met by chance when I was visiting my friend in her new apartment and accidentally rang his doorbell instead of hers. They were next door neighbors. He directed me to the correct apartment, and I used to run into him sometimes when I was visiting her. And eventually we started talking and hit it off. I thought it was the cutest story ever. I think I knew from our first date that I was meant to be with this guy, and when he proposed to me on our first anniversary, it was a complete dream come true. We both had bad past relationships and didn't like to talk about it, and I was always proud of how mature it was of us to be able to trust each other after past heartbreaks. His family was also really nice to me. I don't have much family to call my own. It's just me and my dad, and they both get along great. One afternoon at work, I was just about to go to my lunch break. It was just a regular day when I received a phone call from my mother-in-law. She sounded urgent and asked to meet me at a cafe nearby. I found her request strange but decided to oblige. Upon reaching the cafe, I saw that my mother-in-law was not alone but accompanied by a woman I had never seen before. She was a little older than me and looked nervous to see me. I was a bit taken aback but greeted them as nicely as I could. My mother-in-law apologized for calling me out of the blue but said that the matter was serious. What happened next was something I couldn't have anticipated in a million years. She introduced the woman next to her as my husband's ex-wife, Sarah. I was shocked beyond belief. My mother-in-law then dropped another bombshell. Sarah and my husband had a secret daughter who was now 10 years old. I had never heard of Sarah before, and my husband had never mentioned her. He had mentioned that there were some failed relationships in his past, but he had never told me that he had been married. The whole part about being a child in the scenario was honestly too much for me to process. I was left speechless. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother-in-law and Sarah began explaining the whole story. Apparently, Sarah and my husband only dated for 2 months before Sarah got pregnant. After the baby was born, my husband demanded a paternity test, and sure enough, the baby was his. For the last 10 years, he had kept it a secret from everyone, including his family. But apparently, around a year ago, he randomly ghosted Sarah. He blocked her from everywhere, and she didn't have his address. He had always paid her in cash for their daughter's expenses, so the poor woman had no way of contacting him. After lots of searching, she finally found him a few months ago and discovered that he was married. She didn't know what to do and how he'd react to her showing up suddenly. To make matters worse, she was also fired from her job recently. Apparently, she gathered all her courage and reached out to him, and he was just awful to her and told her that he would take custody of their daughter since she didn't have a job anymore and no family either. Sarah couldn't even afford a lawyer, so she backed off. But after a very difficult few months, she had had enough and did the only thing she could think of, reaching out to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is a well-known lawyer in the city and supports several women's charities, so Sarah hoped that she would be sympathetic to her. She was emotional and seemed to regret not reaching out to us earlier. My mother-in-law was indeed sympathetic, but was hoping we'll be able to figure the whole thing out without getting the law involved to protect her son's reputation as well as her own. You guys can probably imagine how it would look if a woman's right lawyer had a son who was not supporting a single mother and his child. She seemed to think that my husband and I would be able to handle this news and that we would be able to move forward. As I sat there listening to both of them, I couldn't help but feel betrayed. My husband had kept such a significant secret from me, and I was only finding out about it now. I began to reconsider our entire relationship and whether I wanted to stay in it. My mother-in-law noticed my unease and tried to reassure me. She said that my husband had kept this a secret to protect me and our marriage. She said that he had always been a loving and caring husband and that this was the only secret he had kept from me. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this was not just any secret. This was a secret that involved another woman and a child. My husband had lied to me for the entirety of our relationship about something so significant, and I didn't know if I could forgive him for that. I'm at home now, and my husband will be back from work any time. I'm writing this post to vent because I don't know what else I can do. I feel ashamed of talking to my friends because I've always gushed about how wonderful my husband is to them, and I don't know how to tell them the truth now. Update 1. Wow. I was not expecting the amazing support you guys have shown to my post. When I was writing, I even considered coming back and deleting the post after I calmed down a bit, but that's out of the question now. I know this might be disappointing to a lot of you, but I haven't talked to my husband yet. I'm still processing everything and gathering the courage to bring up what I know will be an extremely difficult conversation. The more I think about it, the more unsure I am about my husband. I cannot even imagine that a person who has shown me nothing but love and kindness could have been so cruel to someone else. At the very least, I'd like to take time off from the relationship. A lot of you have told me to divorce him immediately, but that's such a huge step. I need to think about it more. I do plan on confronting my husband ASAP, and I'll make sure to write another update to let you guys know how it goes. Update 2. I finally talked to my husband. To put things bluntly, we've decided to separate, and I'm currently living in a hotel room right now. He did offer to move out instead, but I just didn't want to be in that house surrounded by all our memories. I'm getting my things in order and looking for a place, but finding something this short notice is a bit difficult in the city I live in. I do have friends to stay with if I need it, but I still haven't told anyone except my sister, and she's in a different state. Hopefully something will turn up and I can move in, even if it's temporary. My husband did try to explain what he called his side of the story. He said that he had never meant to hurt me and that he had kept this a secret to protect me from the pain that he knew this whole thing would cause him. He tried to justify his actions, saying he was young and Sarah was never meant to be anything but a fling, and the idea of being a dad at that age freaked him out. He didn't know that I knew about him threatening her about taking custody of his daughter, though. When I brought that up, he didn't have much to say. I'm disgusted and don't want to spend a second being married to him any longer. I'm trying to find a good lawyer, but even that's complicated with my mother-in-law also being a divorce lawyer. I know a lot of lawyers won't like to take me up as a client because of this, and she can make it hard for me to find a good lawyer with her connections. It isn't going to be easy at all, but this is what I want to do. Update 3. Thank you all again for your continued support and advice. I want to address some of the comments that suggested Sarah may have lied about the situation as well. While I understand where these concerns are coming from, I want to clarify that my husband has now fully accepted that he did indeed do all those awful things that he's accused of. He admitted it on a drunk call he made the day I sent him our divorce papers. He was extremely drunk but admitted to everything and begged for my forgiveness. He had the audacity to say that he was protecting our marriage. He said that he never meant to follow through with the custody thing and he only said it so Sarah would leave him alone. He also said that he had paid Sarah for the child support and would continue to do so if I went back to him. I firmly told him that he had to do that anyway, regardless of our divorce. That was when I hung up because I simply had enough of him. I do have a recording of our call because my lawyer had told me to either have no contact with my husband or record any calls I get from him so he can't back off from his words. To answer another question many people had, no, my mother-in-law isn't representing her son in court, but I'm sure his lawyer was handpicked by her and they'll try to downplay the whole thing. Also, I'm not really in contact with Sarah, but I did reach out to her and let her know about my filing for divorce. I apologized to her for everything she had been through and the part I may have played in it. She told me my husband had indeed reached out to her and even sent her the missed child support payments, so I guess something good came out of this thing. Your husband is honestly a terrible person, and I'm glad you've decided to leave him. Even if he didn't mean the things he said he'd do to Sarah, the fact that he could say such things shows what kind of a person he is. I hope you can figure out your stuff soon, and good luck with the divorce process. It's terrifying to think someone you spent such a long time with turns out to be a completely different person than you thought they were. I feel extremely bad for both you and Sarah. I think she should sue him and destroy his reputation. Maybe you could help her. Either way, you made the right call by leaving him. Next story. We're in a bad situation. My husband's brother, Jack, and his wife, Linda, passed away in a car accident and left behind 2 kids, 14 female and 11 male. My in-laws are devastated, as are the kids, are the grandparents, but since they're all living in assisted living, they can't take in the kids. They want the kids to stay in the family, so they want the kids to go to one of Jack or Linda's siblings, Sam, his sister, or Linda's brother, George, or sister Amy. The kids are currently staying with George, though his wife only took them in because she thought it would be a temporary thing. Money is tight for them, and recently she told him that she'd leave him if it turns out he tricked her into taking the kids permanently. Now George wants out. Sam's sister lives by with roommates in New York, so it's down to us and Amy. Amy told the grandparents that Sam and I will, without asking us first. All 5 people have called Sam at some point to tell him it's the right thing to do, but we really can't. Our house only has 3 bedrooms and we have 3 kids. We cannot afford a bigger one, and there's no basement. Amy says we are the only ones who can take in the kids because she and her husband are child-free and so don't know how to take care of kids. And if we don't, we're likely to be responsible for her brother's divorce. She says since both me and my husband work, we have the extra income and we already have 3 kids, so what's 2 more? The income part is not true. We're tight on money, too. Also, Linda's sister is married to a Big Four consultant who makes more than both Sam and I combined. So I don't understand why she can't take the kids and learn to parent. She just says she and her husband travel a lot. He travels for work, but she likes to tag along. Last night, my in-laws called again to beg us to take the kids. Sam is thinking about giving in, but I told him no. I'm already working longer hours just to make sure our kids have a college fund. Also, I didn't work those all-nighters just so my kids could either not go to college or take out huge debts. I said I still think Linda's sister should have to give up her traveling with her husband before we make our kids cram into the same room and spend their college funds on their cousins. Sam said we should ask the kids to see if they're okay with it, which really pissed me off. I'm not passing the guilt to my kids so some flighty woman can vacation with her husband while everybody else struggles to make ends meet. At the moment, I considered telling Sam that if he dared to involve our kids, I'd leave him too. The only reason I haven't is because I don't want Jack and Linda's kids to think that they're causing everyone's marriages to break down. Still, this is a really bad situation, and I feel bad for the kids. I told Sam we need to convince the grandparents to either find distant relatives, we can help search, or get Amy out of her permanent vacation. AITA? Edit. To clarify, no, Jack and Linda did not leave anything for their kids, not even life insurance or a house. This would not be a problem otherwise. Nobody except Amy's husband has extra money to help us out financially. Amy has said already she does not want to help, including get a bigger space. We do not have the money or space for the kids, but would take the kids if we did. Edit 2. For the people who keep asking, if Sam and I die, our children will go to my parents because that's what it says in my will and I have life insurance. Edit 3. For those of you who think I should give up my children's college funds because they might not want to go to college, they already said they do. I did not start taking extra work to save for them until I talked about college with them. You do not get to make decisions for my children any more than Amy does. Update. Thank you to the people who posted good advice and the people who sent resources in direct messaging. I called my state's Department of Children's Services and getting approved as foster parents. They said we can only have 2 kids per room and they must be of the same gender. So Sam and I do not meet the minimum requirement for housing unless we only take the boy. There is no way the kids or the grandparents will agree to splitting up the kids. They also said we cannot use an RV to count for a bedroom. I also called about the kids' Social Security. They can get $900 a month in benefits because the amount seems to depend on how much their parents worked. Jack worked sometimes and Linda did not. Sam and I have explained that we are not legally eligible to take the kids to the grandparents. They now think Amy should take the kids, but I don't think she's going to. Either way, we are staying out of their talk with her, which is a nicer thing than what she did to us. I'm going to try a few other things to help find the kids a place to stay. One idea was to make Amy ask her and her husband's friends to help find good and safe foster parents, and we can visit the children if they want us to. I think she will do it this time because she is the only one left who can legally take the children, unless the law in Georgia state is different. For the people who are child-free, I don't mind that people choose to be child-free or want to stay child-free, but Amy cannot volunteer me and my husband without asking us and then expect that we will not ask her to spend some effort in helping the kids find a place to stay, even if not with her. Making some phone calls will not stop her from being child-free. Her choice to be child-free does not mean she gets to freely be mean to us by first trying to push responsibility on us and then run away from all responsibility when it comes to light that only she, among the family members, is qualified to take the children. Wow, so sad. What a tough situation. Clearly, this won't be easy on anyone. If your well-off relatives don't want to take in the kids so they can maintain their lifestyle and you can't manage it financially, would it be possible to work out a situation where you take in the children, but they contribute financially toward their upbringing? This is a whole family situation and shouldn't land on just one part of the family. Everyone should be willing to pitch in to help, but it sounds like no one is. ESH, big time. NTA for being scared to take the financial responsibility of 2 more kids. That's a lot. It sucks that you were just told that you had to take on this task without being asked, and because other adults choose their lifestyle over 2 kids that just lost their parents. But this is where you are in life. Do you have to take on the task of raising these children? No. You are under no obligations and you can choose to walk away. But before you do so, ask yourself, can you live with that guilt? I understand the financial burden this would put on your family. So before you make any decision, contact CPS and see what services are available to you to help raise these kids. As orphans, they should be entitled to Social Security benefits and free college, and I'm sure a few other things. By doing this, you can make an informed decision. But if you're going to resent these children, do not take them in. If you cannot love them and help them heal, do not take them. If you cannot love them, like you do your children, do not take them. These kids do not deserve any of that. ESH. Amy is in the wrong for pushing the kids on you, but you are also an a-hole, not for not taking the kids, but because you're trying to push them on a child-free couple. The way you talk about Amy, you despise her for being child-free. Well, guess what, OP? People are allowed to be child-free. It doesn't make their time any less valuable than yours. No, they shouldn't have to learn to parent, because it's not the life they want. As a child-free person myself, I can say I hate people like you who think they're better because they popped out kids. Also, in my experience, people who talk shit about child-free people are the ones who are jealous. Let the woman travel and live her life and stop being such a holier-than-thou stuck-up. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.